We've talked about the biggest mistakes of the Halloween franchise. Now we're going to go on the other side and we're going to talk about 10 things the Halloween franchise gets right. Let's do this. What's up, guys? It's time for another top 10. These are always fun. And with October, we're almost at the end of the month. I wanted to get another Halloween ranking out. And this one's going to be fun. This is going to be top 10 things the Halloween franchise gets right. I've already done biggest mistakes for the big three. I'll put a card right here for the Halloween one. Be sure to check out all three of those, though. Those were really fun videos to make, and I got a lot of good ideas from you guys, too, after. So, before I get into this, I want you to go into the comments, post your... you don't have to do 10, but just things that you think the Halloween franchise gets right. Things that you love about the franchise. And also, just last week, I got the Sacred Bones Expanded Edition. I've been listening to this thing. It is glorious. So glorious. I highly recommend picking this up if you get a chance to. Because it's just a longer version of the score for Halloween 2018. A lot of those cues that we didn't get to hear on the regular soundtrack are on this one. And I believe this is limited edition, so definitely get it. But anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into it. And I'm going to give you one honorable mention too, because this is something I really wanted to mention about the franchise, is the mystery. More than any other franchise, I think the Halloween franchise definitely has this air of mystery about it. You know, a lot of questions that lurk along the way. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. You know, take like the Man in Black from the Thorn trilogy. I remember when I first saw Halloween 5, I was curious. I was like, oh, this guy seems interesting. Where are they going to go with this? You know, and it didn't pan out exactly like I wanted it to, but to me, I will admit it, it's still really interesting. Unfortunately, the filmmakers didn't know what the hell they wanted to do with the Man in Black. They made him win, but, you know, there's just this air of mystery, even in Loomis. You know, Loomis presents all this mystery throughout the franchise, the mystery of Myers. So that's my honorable mention. Now, number 10. The Halloween franchise, really the first movie, it set the slasher bar extremely high. The first Halloween was the beginning of the slasher craze. From 78 to, I believe, 84 was like the big slasher boom, and there were like over 80 slasher movies. And that first movie was just so good. You know, it's my favorite movie of all time. And it set the bar so high for slasher films that everybody tried to not really top it, because how do you top what John Carpenter created? But, you know, everybody wanted to get a piece of that slasher pie because of that first movie. Number 9, John Carpenter. John Carpenter's my favorite director. The guy just has a resume. It's not perfect, but what he got right, he nailed. And he nailed Halloween. Without John Carpenter, Halloween would not be what it became. The guy just knew how to create tension, and especially great characters. Loomis is such an awesome character. To me, there is no better character in the franchise than Loomis. John Carpenter just had this gift of a horror director to be able to scare the audience and to be able to just move the camera in the simplest of ways, but somehow just scare the shit out of you. And I think a lot of directors, they overthink it, and you don't have to do that. Carpenter knew what to do. He knew that secret formula to really get under the audience's skin.
The film I'm making now, Halloween, hopefully is a horror film, loaded with scares, suspense scares, hopefully not grisly or gory.
And I think so many directors copy Carpenter to this day. But without John Carpenter, Halloween would not be what it is. Number 8, now this is a personal preference. You might not agree with this, but I believe all the Halloween movies, they're watchable, even the worst. I can watch Resurrection and have some popcorn and have a decent time with it. It commits almost every crime that slasher movies can commit, that the bad ones do, but I can't watch Seed of Chucky. I can watch Halloween Resurrection. So I can watch all of the Halloween movies, warts and all. It's a fun franchise, it really is. Number 7, another personal preference here, but I believe the chemistry between Rachel and Jamie in Halloween 4 was so strong and it worked so well that I had to put it on this list. They are two of my favorite characters of the franchise outside of Myers and Loomis. You know, what Rachel was willing to do to give her life to save Jamie, who's not even her blood. She put her own personal needs aside, though. You know, this was a teenager, and she really represents everything that you would want in a final girl. And then, of course, Jamie, played by Danielle Harris. I mean, it's hard for a child actor to carry a franchise, and she really did for those two movies, 4 and 5. And I think Danielle Harris did a great job, you know, because a lot of times child actors can ruin movies, especially horror movies. But she played the role with such respect, and you know, she wasn't annoying, she didn't get in the way at all, and she was great. You really felt for her. You know, to me, that's a really good acting job. And of course, since we're on characters number 6, gotta give props to Laurie Strode. I know I've mentioned my problems with Laurie Strode in the past, just that, you know, how many times does she have to come back? But when she does come back, she makes her mark, you know, except for in Resurrection. But even in Halloween 2018, I cannot take away the fact that she carried the show. Laurie Strode was great. Laurie Strode is a great character. And she is, you know, if I did a top 5 final girls, of course she would be in there. You know, she does represent everything that you want in a great final girl. And so she belongs on this countdown. Number 5, the score. It is one of the most iconic scores in horror history. What John Carpenter created was so simple, but you cannot get it out of your head, and it is scary as hell. Throughout most of the movies. I think Halloween 5, the score is a little bit lazy, but for the most part, that score is bone-chilling. And when Carpenter first screened Halloween, he did it without the score, and it wasn't nearly as effective. Once he added the score, everybody was jumping up and down. They were freaking out. That score, I mean, just think about it. When you see that pumpkin, and then you hear that score over it, just that one simple image scares the hell out of you. You know, it's not even an image, it's just something you hear. To be able to scare the audience with what they hear, not what they see, is so important. Number 4, and this is something that Halloween kills all the other franchises in, I think, atmosphere. You give me atmosphere in a horror movie, and you already have a leg up. And so many of the movies in this franchise have such great atmosphere, especially the first movie, the 4th movie, and the 6th movie. All 3 of those have amazing atmosphere. Even Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 doesn't get credit for the atmosphere it has. It really does. But you know, when you're presenting a scene that's supposed to scare the audience, when you bathe it in like that fog and just dark atmosphere, give it a little bit of light, you know, it builds the tension, it builds the scares, and you know, atmosphere. I love the atmosphere in the Halloween franchise. Number 3, real simple. It's scary. The Halloween franchise, to me, is probably the scariest of slasher franchises when it's done right. And there's a lot of movies that are really scary. I mean, I don't get scared by really anything these days, but I know what scary is. When I saw Halloween 4 in the theater the first time, opening night, I had nightmares for weeks, months, even years after. That is how effective that last scene was in Halloween 4. It was scary as hell. Donald Pleasance's reaction, or Loomis's reaction to what he thought was Myers, and it ended up being Jamie Lloyd. No! 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 To me, still to this day, that's one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in movie history. And Myers himself is a very scary character. He's a big mystery. He's a question mark. But visually, he's just a scary character. Number 2, Loomis. Loomis, to me, is one of my all-time favorite, not just horror characters, but characters in general. There's just something about him that is just so interesting. And we were actually talking about that on the last Halloween Kills that we did, which was so fun. What Donald Pleasance created, I think, is just brilliant. And it makes me miss the character so much. You know, we'll never have Loomis again unless they reboot the series, but how do you recreate what Donald Pleasance did? You know, even the great Malcolm McDowell could not convey what Donald Pleasance did. No other horror franchise has a character like Loomis, or if they do, it's usually some kind of detective that's not nearly as interesting. Loomis was almost as crazy as Michael was. And so that added to his mystique. There is like a bit of mystery to Loomis himself. And I love that obsession that he has with Michael. You know, everything about Loomis, I think, it works so well. Donald Pleasence took the character so seriously all the way to the end, you know, to the 6th movie. And I miss him terribly. And then, of course, number 1, Michael freaking Myers. The character that has scared me more than any other horror character ever. You know, you have the iconic mask, the William Shatner mask. And Myers, he's like a phantom type killer. Like I said earlier, he is a big question mark. There's so much mystery behind the character. We don't know. Look, a 6-year-old child that just up and kills his sister for no good reason whatsoever, to me, that is scary as hell. And more importantly, it's really interesting. Michael Myers has always been so interesting to me. Just something that I want to know more about, but I don't. And I think you know what I'm talking about. But, I mean, you take away Myers from this franchise, and it's not the Halloween franchise. You know, he is the major reason why we're still here today. You know, at the end of the day, he is an extremely terrifying, extremely formidable horror character. And to me, that's interesting too, because he is just this, you know, at the end of the day, he's like a lumbering, walking, almost like zombie-like character, but for some reason, you don't know really what's behind that mask. You don't know what's in the mind of Myers, and to me, that makes him interesting. So anyway, guys, that is it. That is my top 10 things the Halloween franchise gets right. I'm sure I missed a few. Let me know in the comments. And also look for the Friday and Nightmare franchises. And then I'm gonna jump over to like the Child's Play and Leatherface, all those other franchises, and talk about the mistakes. And thank you guys for watching these videos. This series has been doing really well for my channel, and I appreciate that, and they're really fun to do. So anyway, also be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.